Hello, everybody. We're going to get started. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. My name is Mickey. I am the undergrad student assistant at the Feminist Research Institute. Along with me, that is going to be help facilitating the workshop is our associate director, Sarah, and also Eve from the Undergrad Research Center. So we basically wanted to have this workshop to get people kind of get started on their own research, also participating with professors on research. As we all know, it's a little bit more difficult for undergrads to get positions. I know for me, it was really hard to figure out what I want to do for research in general, but also to get more involved. I'll pass it off to Sarah. I believe she has some words to say as well.
Hi all, it's wonderful to have you here. At the Feminist Research Institute, we're really dedicated to thinking about how we can undo knowledge hierarchies and to let people, based on the many lived experiences they have, including their experiences as younger people in society, into the conversations that we're having. And that's something that the university really struggles with. And so I see these workshops and I see the work we're doing as a way to think about how we can challenge this knowledge hierarchy and simultaneously acknowledge the differences in expertise that come from the many life experiences that y'all are coming from. So with that, I'm going to pass it off to E. E has an immense amount of expertise around undergraduate research, and I feel like we are so lucky to have them with us today. So E, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you to the Feminist Research Institute for having me here today. And I'm super excited to talk to you all about, oops, I pressed the wrong button. I'm super excited to talk to you all about how to get engaged with research opportunities here on our campus. First and foremost, I want to acknowledge the Zoom background that I have put up on my screen. We are excited to be bringing back our annual Undergraduate Research Scholarship and Creative Activities Conference back to an in-person experience after having 2 years of a virtual conference. And so our conference will take place on April 29th and April 30th. That's a Friday and a Saturday. On Friday, we'll be in the U Center, which is formerly known as the Art Pavilion. And then on Saturday, we'll be in Wellman Hall. So if you are already engaging in research and you want to show off your research to the rest of the community, I encourage you to think about applying to submit an abstract for our conference. And if you are not able to submit an abstract, that's okay. We'd love for you to come by and see the great contributions that your fellow undergraduate Aggie scholars are contributing to our community. No fee, no need to register. You'll just need to have your daily symptom survey filled out before you can enter our conference. So as mentioned, my name is E. Nuñez. I'm use they, them, theirs pronouns. I'm the Associate Director for the Undergraduate Research Center and Chair for the Undergraduate Research Scholarship and Creative Activities Conference. And first and foremost, our number one job at the URC is to listen. Listen to each of you to understand where your interests lie in undergraduate research, what your goals are and how research can help you achieve those goals or get closer to achieve those goals. And the way we do that is by offering a variety of opportunities to get engaged with the Undergraduate Research Center through undergraduate research programs. We have our Undergraduate Research Ambassadors program, who is current undergraduate students who are currently engaged in undergraduate research, who love to engage with students who are thinking about research to answer any questions and bust any of those myths that are out there about research. And so our mission is to listen and help you achieve all of your undergraduate research goals. And so in the chat, I'd love to hear what you all are thinking about with research. What are some words that come to mind or images that come to mind when you think of undergraduate research? Go ahead and just drop it in the chat. Okay, so let's see, data analysis, opportunity, learning and application, different perspectives, absolutely. These are all things, representation. Yes, these are awesome. What do you think you have to even before you start research, before you start thinking about research, what drives research? What do you think you need to be? You have to have a strong sense of what? Motivation, yes. Curiosity, yes, absolutely. So motivation and curiosity are the words that I'm thinking of, right? And so if you are curious about absolutely anything, you can almost always turn that into a research question or project, right? So maybe you were a student or you are a student who likes to take things that are seemingly not functional and take them apart, figure out how to fix it and make it functional again. Or maybe you're curious about why sickle cell anemia is prominent and predominant in the Black community, or why there's a high level of homelessness in your community. Or why maybe you at your high school had AP classes, but the person down the street did not, right? So as long as you're curious about something, you can turn that into a research project or a research question. So the very first question we're going to ask you is, what are you curious about, right? And so on our campus, there are two primary ways to get involved in undergraduate research. And so the first I'm going to go over is the sponsored research programs. These are structured programs that typically have some commonalities, like it's a cohort-based program, meaning that you are admitted into a program along with other students, and you all go through the same experience. Many of these sponsored research programs have stipends attached to them, so you get paid for the time that you have put in. And then if they're not available for stipends, sometimes they offer credit as compensation. There's often a seminar involved with the research program as well, where there's professional development opportunities that take place, and you're really able to build community there as scholars. The formal application process is typically the same. They're going to ask you for some basic demographic info, such as your name, major, GPA. If you're a transfer student, you can put your transfer GPA. If you're a first-year student, you can just leave that off. And then a personal statement or a statement of interest. And in that personal statement, faculty have told us that they are looking for motivation and curiosity. Faculty would rather have someone with a high level of motivation and curiosity and maybe not as much experience versus someone who has all the experience in the world, but does not have a high sense of motivation and curiosity. And the reason that is because research, 75 to 80% of research is learning from what did not go well. And so you've got to be willing to go back through that experiment or go back through that data analysis or go back to the literature and really figure out what's going on, right? And a high sense of motivation and curiosity will usually push you through those moments, right? That is what is most important. There typically then will be an evaluation period, and then folks who are qualified will be invited to an interview, which it is most likely will be a panel interview with about 2 to 4 folks, ranging from current faculty or students who are engaged in the program. Also can include, faculty directors or managers or things like that. And they provide an interview, right? A formal interview with that. Once that is over, then they typically have, again, a review period, and then they offer positions after that. The volunteer and research unit pathway is a little bit more challenging for students for the simple fact that the applications vary. Some faculty will do a really great job of putting very clearly on their website that they're hiring, what the application process is. And for those faculty members, you really want to make sure to follow those instructions, right? For faculty members who do not have this explicitly mentioned on their website, you want to treat your email as a cover letter, and you want to attach your resume and treat that really as an application. Because if you don't have a personal relationship with the faculty before emailing them, this will be your first interaction with the faculty member. And so you want to be sure to put your best foot forward. Interviews are also typically a panel interview. Sometimes they're super formal. Sometimes they're, I've seen interviews take place at the Coho. Also seen them take place very formally in an office, right? Here, the way students are compensated varies, right? So it can be volunteer, which means you are volunteering your time. You can be compensated through research units, which basically you get the number of units based on the number of hours you are committing to that experience, right? If you're working anywhere from 1 to 6 hours, you're going to get 1 unit. And then anywhere from 7 to 10 units, or hours, you're going to get 2 units, right? And so the great thing is you'll get equally compensated for the amount of time you spend. And those are really the only 2 ways to kind of get compensated through the research opportunity. For both of these opportunities, if you have a work study award, know that you are allowed to use your work study to pay yourself for the research opportunity. So always make sure to ask faculty if they are willing to use your work study award if you have it available to you. So what does research look like? That's going to depend on the type of research you're doing, right? If you're a STEM major, you're going to be doing things like maybe laboratory bench work, modeling computations, right? I do a lot of literature reviews and library searches and archival work for my own research. And so it's really going to depend on the type of research you might do. And then also your particular role within that research project. You might be the data analyst person. So you're doing a lot of modeling computation while your partner is doing all the laboratory bench work, right? And then there's also the great thing about being in Davis and Sacramento is all the agricultural areas around us, all the student-ran farms around us. Those are also, fieldwork is considered research. It just shows up differently for you based on your major. So this is basically any opportunity you have to go out and engage with the population or the environment you are researching. So going to a classroom and observing, students and how they learn is also field work, in addition to going out into the field and taking samples and doing those kinds of things as well. Research is also shows up in our creative arts compositions, art studio, music, dance, movement, creative writing. If you really think about it, research is about telling a story, and how you tell that story might be different. You might tell it through data, points, right? Like 43% of UC Davis students identify as first generation college students, right? Or you might do it through writing a paper, creative writing. Our arts and design folks do it through paintings and modelings and virtual reality games and experiences, and creating things like fashion that have a particular goal, right? Like this photo here of the red dresses was specifically for raising awareness for AIDS Foundation. And so the color is very specific and how they want the dress to fall. They have to, stitch it in a particular way. So this is all research, right? So it all just shows up very differently based on your type of research and interest that you're having. So what are some benefits of undergraduate research? Far more than can fit on a slide screen, but I will focus on the first 4 here: critical thinking, analytical skills, teamwork, communication, and leadership skills. These are what we call transferable skills. And transferable skills are skills that you'll need whether you're, full-time researcher at, NASA, or you are a full-time franchise owner of a Starbucks, right? You're going to need to know how to communicate. You're going to need to know how to problem solve and have leadership and work in a team, right? And so the skills that you learn in research, even if you do not want to be a full-time researcher, they're going to be beneficial. Some of the common questions that you get during a job interview is, tell me a time you worked through a challenge with a team. Research is an excellent opportunity to figure that out, right? Speak to me about the role that you typically play on a team, right? Research is typically done in a team setting. So these are all transferable skills that even if you get to the end of your research experience and you're like, you know what, this is not for me, you can still walk away with valuable skills that you can talk about in various places. The other one that I like to talk about here is increased self-confidence. So let me ask you a question. Think back to when you first started to ride a bike or rollerblade or skateboard. What were some things that you would potentially experience as a first-time bike rider, rollerblader, or skateboard? What are some things that might happen to you on your first try? You might fall, you might have anxiety, right? What else? What kind of equipment might you have? First time trying out. Helmets, right? Training wheels, maybe. Elbow pads, safety gear, yep, knee pads, right? So as you continue to ride your bike and you continue to get more comfortable riding your bike or on your rollerblades, you might get confident and take off those knee pads or take off those training wheels, right? And you might be going down a hill by the time you're, done with it. Research is kind of the same thing. You're going to be a little bit wobbly and maybe feel a little bit overwhelmed in the very beginning. But the more you do it, the more confident you become, right? And also, you're not going to know if you like it unless you try it, right? It's like, think of olives, right? I'm not going to know if I like olives unless I try an olive. Everyone can tell me what their favorite kind are, what the pros and cons are, the health benefits, all these different things. But I'm not going to know unless I try it, right? Research is the same thing. You're not going to know unless you try it. So there are so many benefits to doing undergraduate research. So let's talk about action steps. What can you do to find a research opportunity on our campus? First and foremost, I want to talk about that the number one question we get on our campus for research is there a database or just one place I can look that has all of the research opportunities there in one place? Unfortunately, the answer to that question is no right now. But we are making strides to try and bring this to campus. And we are getting some really good momentum from campus partners to support a web-based application that is going to allow students to search and apply for research positions right in that app, web-based app. So we are making strides, it's coming. But in the meantime, I hope these next few slides I share with you are going to give you some kind of action steps. So again, that very first question you need to ask yourself, what am I curious about? How do I learn best? And what specific skills do I want to gain? Do I want to go to graduate school, professional school, or right into career? And what do you need to be successful? Do you need more structure? Are you okay with, little to no supervision? Do you need, are you visual? Are you auditory when you're learning? Those kinds of things. All of those things are going to help you identify a faculty mentor that is going to be a good faculty mentor for you, and then find a project that is going to be exciting for you as well. All right. Let's see. There's another thought I had here, and it's escaping me. So I'll keep going, and if it comes back, I will look for it. Okay, so we have a travel award in the URC that provides funding for students to go and travel and present their research. Now, we haven't had a lot of recipients in the last couple of years because of the pandemic, but this student had a really great quote that I like to share with students. And really, she talks about being curious and being willing to speak up if things don't seem right or seem off. And I don't know about you all, but I was the type of kid growing up where I always asked why, I always asked how. And, as a kid, you get told, are like, oh, the sky's blue because it's just blue, right? Like, that's just the way it is. Research is the place where the land of all the questions, right? You can ask so many questions, and you can be curious in a lot of different ways and find the answers to those questions. And so I really love Joni's quote here. And I do like to point out to students that this photo down here is Joni, and she is collecting water samples I believe this is in Lake Tahoe somewhere. All right, so research opportunities and programs. Think about your current and past classes. If you're a transfer student or a first year student, think about the classes you took at your community college or your high school. What are the classes that were really exciting to you and why? Was it because of the teacher or the faculty member? Was it because of the content or the way it was presented? And then think of also, if you were a research project, what department would you live in, right? So let's say I'm curious about voting trends amongst newly registered voters in California. What department would I live in? Take a guess in the chat. I am curious about voting trends of newly registered voters in California. What department would I live in? Sociology or political science? Absolutely. Where else? American studies? Yes, absolutely. Right? You might even think of psychology, thinking about what goes into the voting behavior. You might even think education, depending on, if you're focusing on newly registered college students, right? The point here is that if you think about where your research might live, start at that department's website and see where you might find some similarities with faculty members who share your similar interests, right? And then that way you can figure out like, okay, maybe it's not in political science, but maybe if I go to sociology, it'll be, find something more relevant there. So that's a good way to think about things as well. The Handshake application app is also a great way to find research opportunities. They do have a research filter. And so you can search by that research filter. Obviously, we can help you out by doing, advising or things like that. And then lab websites are obviously a good place to start as well. However, I do have an asterisk there that not all websites are created equal. And so some websites are going to be super clear and others are not going to be so clear. So you've really got to spend some time to decipher those. All right, can someone tell me the difference between a resume and a CV? How about, does anybody know what CV stands for? Great, so CV is more personal to the place you're applying. A CV equals research. Curriculum vitae, good job, Eva. A CV is more like a letter about yourself. That is a really great description, Erica. So yes, a resume is going to be a summary of your most relevant research or your most relevant experience. So for example, if I'm applying to be, a babysitter for some, group, I'm going to include only the experience that is most relevant to the job I will be applying to. Whereas a CV or curriculum vitae, which actually translates to life story in English, is comprehensive and typically includes all of your experience. And you will most likely see CVs in the academic setting. So for faculty positions, researcher positions, those kinds of things. On this campus, I've noticed that they're used interchangeably. So if you see an application that asks for a CV/resume, and you're not sure which one to submit, feel free to reach out to that person who is the contact and ask, right? The Internship and Career Center has amazing resources on their website. They have actual examples of resumes and CVs. There's actually a research focused example on there as well that I like to show to students. They also have a example of what goes into a cover letter. I've kind of summarized it here. You're going to want to introduce yourself, obviously, right? You want to, what are you applying for? Why are you applying for that position? And what skills do you bring, right? And these skills can be focused if you have limited research experience. These skills can be things that are often called soft skills, right? So things like effective communication, having good time management, keeping organized, those are things that are soft skills, whereas more technical hard skills are like being able to code in Python or being able to analyze research via a particular software, right? You always want to focus on positive promotion and marketing. So for example, let's say there are 10 requirements for a position. and you meet 9 out of the 10. You always want to think about those requirements that you don't meet as a learning opportunity. So for example, if it says must be able to code in Python, right? And let's say you don't know like Python that well, but you're familiar with it. You can always talk about your eagerness to, learn the skill of coding in Python or whatever it may be, right? You want to think about these like the resources or the requirements that you don't meet. Are they trainable? Meaning if I take training and I practice, I can gain that skill, or are they kind of non-trainable? And if they're trainable, then I would say always try to promote and focus on your eagerness to learn those skills in your cover letter and resume. All right, almost here. Contacting faculty. This is probably the thing that makes students the most nervous, right? Number one, remember that faculty are people, right? They put their pants on the same way we do, one leg at a time. They go to the grocery store just like us. You think of that People magazine when they show, celebrities going to come out of the gym and they're like celebrities just like us, right? Faculty are just like us, right? In-person is better, especially now that we're back to in-person instruction, because you can always put a face to the name, and most importantly, you can follow up. Office hours are typically the best place to meet with faculty. You can also set up an appointment by emailing them specifically before or after class if you have a class with them. For email, make sure you mind your email etiquette. People laugh when I say this, but it's because I've seen this in emails to actual faculty members from students. You should not be emailing like you text, no shorthand or anything like that. You should always refer to the person you're emailing as Dr. So-and-so unless they tell you otherwise. No emojis or anything like that in your emails to faculty, because again, you want to think about this is your first impression. And so you want to make a good impression. I have some learning disabilities that I have to manage. And so one strategy that I use when I'm writing emails, and this is every day, I read my emails out loud to myself because I am more likely to catch mistakes or long running sentences if I hear it. So that can be a strategy for you all as well if you're not comfortable having others look at your writing. And then students ask us all the time, how do I set myself apart from all the emails that faculty are getting? Follow up, follow up, follow up, follow up. You want to make sure that when you send an email, you give faculty about a 3 to 4 day business day period to respond. And if you haven't heard by that time, bring up that email you sent to them, hit forward, type their email in again. You don't even have to rewrite the email. All you have to do is say, dear Dr. So-and-so, I sent you the below email on such and such date and just wanted to reach out again to see if you have any open opportunities, right? So you don't even, no more than 3 to 4 sentences and you're good to go on that one. All right, so we are located in the Student Community Center on the 2nd floor, directly above the Cross Cultural Center. We are open Monday through Thursday, 9 to 4 p.m. We are 100% virtual on Fridays. There's our website and email. And I do want to say that I would highly recommend folks checking out our website. We did a major reorganization of our website through the pandemic to make it more user-friendly. And so please make sure you check out that as well.